Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a terrific show planned for you today. Don't forget to stay tuned for Warriors Talk after the Drive at 5 at 6 p.m. Today is a special edition of the Drive at 5. We will say an early Black History edition of the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com because we have history here in the studio. We have Willard Parker. Wheeler Parker. Willard Parker, the cousin of Emmett Till. He will describe to us what happened, the museum, and how can we get further along with history, including his history. So please give people on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station your background and the story of Emmett Till.
Okay. My name is Wheeler Parker, and I was born in Slaughter, Mississippi, 1939. And 1947, 46, we moved to Money, Mississippi. And from there, we were part of the Great Migration. We were migrants, and I tell them they treat migrants better than they did us when we came. So my mother, January 1st, 1947, she got on a train with 5 children, and I was the oldest of 7, going to the Promised Land. And when we moved to the Promised Land, we moved in an apartment. We had 2 rooms. 8 of us was in 2 rooms. And I remember my auntie coming from California. My mother said, "Come on in, girl, we got plenty of room." We put a pallet right there. So we lived like that, and nobody complained about not having enough room or being overcrowded or nothing. That's where we lived, and we shared. We had extended family always. And of course, my grandmother and Emmett Till's grandmother were sisters. So when we moved to Summit, Argo, Illinois, that's where that starch plant was. They brought Black people from the South. They came the same day you can go to work, and they start working. And my dad had come in 46 already. He sent for us to come. And we got there January 1st, 1947, 78 years ago, this last past January the 1st. So we moved next door to Emmett Till, of course, and the schools across the street. And we had never lived in a close proximity of people coming from the South. Next house was sometimes 5 miles away from you. So they had 9 homes that were built just alike. So we came out of one of those houses. And I went to the school right across the street, and I couldn't remember what house I came out of, so I'm lost. At 7 years old, going to be 8 real soon. And that's where we lived and got along fine. In 1955, I'm skipping now to how I got back to Mississippi. Black people send their children back in droves every summer to the South to be with their relatives.
From Chicago
back. That was a natural thing. You could go down there during the holidays, and man, cars from Chicago, Wisconsin, Michigan, just everywhere. Matter of fact, a lot of times the guys come up here and bought cars, man. I guess the people down south thought they were rich. They come home, they leave on a Friday. Monday morning, they back at work, man. That was a common thing. So my grandfather came to Chicago in the summer of 1955 to bury one of his parishioners. And while he was there, I might back up a little bit. Emmett Till is 2 years younger than I. He had no siblings. So when his mother took trips or took him places, she used me as a sibling. So he kind of looked up to me because I was older, and kids just looked up to older kids, you know. So that was it. So when my grandfather came, they said, "We're going to let Junior," they call me Junior, "go back with Papa to Mississippi." And Emmett found out that I was going. So they say, well, he said he had to go. They said, boy, you can't go to Mississippi. And the only way you can understand why they said that, if you didn't live there, you had no idea. I don't care how much you read about it. If you didn't live there and experience what it was like, you have no idea what they were talking about. Because you could be killed on the spot. And people would kill for reckless eyeball. My dad had to sleep with his gun overnight. A lot of things. And we still don't tell our story. Every black family you know from Mississippi, from the South, got a story to tell, but they won't tell it.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's like the hush hush, you know. I talked to some guys like, why would we even tell our stories? One day I was on the radio and people got to calling in telling their stories, you know. And my uncle, I found out about my dad's story after the Emmett Till story. Him and the man got into it. And so he went home and got his shotgun on the way because he said some words. You just couldn't talk to people in any kind of way. He didn't disrespect the man, but he left the field. He left the work. He was leaving. And he knew the man could come to him. And he didn't want to take a beating or killing, whatever it was. So he boarded up the door, got his shotgun. The man just didn't come. So we escaped that. I'm trying to give you a picture of what it was like, and a lot of blacks lost their life. My uncle, uh, he had tried to settle up with the white man, and at the end of the year, you had no control. We were sharecroppers. During the year, the mistake was not a mistake. During the year, you got stuff at the commissary, clothes, food, and whatever. So during the year, he got things. So the white man told him, saying, well, you got this and you got that. He said, well, sir, I didn't get that. He said, well, it's on the books. He said, but sir, I didn't get that. He said, it's on the books. He didn't say it too many times. He said, look, my daughter keeps the records. She don't make mistakes. Now you can get killed. He said, you need your tongue cut out. You talk too much. Those are the kind of settings that it was like in the South. And people went through a whole lot, suffered a lot of things as black people in the South. You had to live it to understand it. So my grandfather came to Illinois, Chicago in 1955 to uh, bury one of his parishioners. And Emmett found out that I was going back with my grandfather. And he said, well, I got to go. They said, you can't go because you could get killed. Why? Because you don't know the mores of the South. You don't know the laws of the South. It'd be too dangerous for you because you like to talk and you don't know the yes sirs and the no sirs. And if you say that wrong, you could be in trouble real quick, you know. Some kind of way, I don't know what happened, but between the time we were going to go, he talked them into letting him go. So I said, okay, we're going to let you go. I think my grandfather told me he'd take care of him. Normally, when you went south, you were in the hands of an adult, always. Emmett and I went south. I got Uncle 16, same age as I am, two more uncles younger than me. They got use of a car. So we riding around. We're not with my grandfather, my grandmother. Unusual. Probably shouldn't have been at the store either. So we were there riding around, having good fun. And this one, we got there on a Sunday. Monday morning, you're in the cotton field. Everybody goes to the cotton field. If you're in town and you don't live there and you're not in the cotton field, you're going to prison. You know how long your sentence going to be? Till harvest time is over. So everybody.
That means every black person that lives in Mississippi
Hmm.
at that point in time, even if you're visiting, stopping by, spending the night, if you're not at the cotton gin,
Hmm.
at that
Cotton field.
cotton
You don't
field.
go to the gym till you get put something in the sack.
Oh, okay. At the cotton field,
Yeah. You can't be walking around town.
you
Now,
cannot.
if you stay at somebody's house, just stay inside and you know they don't see you. But if you're in town, you're going to jail. They got parchment there, and the parchment, even up until even now, they were self-sufficient. What I mean by that, they produce, manufactured enough to take care of themselves, and they had what they call it. I'm trying to think when you let your wife come on. And, it's a term they use for that. You could have your wife to come and have those visits with your wife.
Conjugal
Yeah,
visits.
yeah, yeah, conjugal visit. And so, but anyway, so I'm just kind of paint a picture of what it was like. So Monday morning, we got that Sunday Monday morning, we in the cotton field getting it. Emmett spent one day, he couldn't handle it, man. It was too hot. It was just, he just couldn't handle it. But he stayed home with grandma. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, some kind of way we got with him. He got with us. And we rode up to this little store. We down in the country. We 3 miles from Money, Mississippi, which is about as small as a town you can get. I passed through it not too long ago. Looking to my left, I said, I think I just passed through town. That's how small it was. And so we rode up to the store. They had a few grocery stores, and not a few grocery stores. We went to this grocery store. And while we were there, of course, the people gathered in the evening from sundown after picking cotton. And people gathered there, and this when things started happening. And during that time, there's so many stories was told as to what happened. It's unbelievable.
Which one that is not true?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you said, so many stories are out there. Which one is the truth?
Let me tell you this. I was interviewed 30 years later. Did you think I know the truth? 30 years later, they interviewed me. But people wrote the story, and they told the story. And first impression is lasting. First impression, even blacks put out stories that was not true at all. They told black press, eyes on the prize, you ever heard the term?
Hmm.
The story they told was not true at all. So I was interviewed 30 years later, and that's when things started changing. You remember the story about this basketball player in Chicago, Ben Wilson? You ever heard of Ben Wilson?
No.
Never heard about Ben? He said he's going to be the next Michael Jordan, man. He had the name, biggest name you ever want to have. He was over at this high school with a CVS. He got shot, killed. So Emmett Till's mother went to the funeral and went to comfort her during this time. So a guy named Rich Salmon from Channel 5, he said, oh, I'd like to do a story about you and your son. She said, okay. This is 1985. This is 1985, 30 years. Up until that time, we didn't talk about Emmett Till. It was like the black folks say, y'all should be ashamed to let them take that boy. The white people say, you got what it deserves. So that's something you didn't talk about. But Rich Samuels, Channel 5, NBC, said, I'm going to do a story. And that started things to change. I cannot believe the interest that's in Emmett Till now as opposed to what it was for the first 30 years.
Why is that?
Because America has changed. We come a long way. We got a lot of work to do. And we have people who has, I don't want to say got religion, but they saw the light, and the wheels of justice in America grind, but they grind very slow. If you want to quick change, forget it. I was at the anti-lynching signing. They named it after Emmett Till. You've heard of Ida B. Wells.
Yes.
Her great granddaughter and great grandson was there. President at the signing, President Biden, we were all there, and she spoke very eloquently. That we had a meeting together the other day. She said my great grandmother was here 100 years ago, trying to get an anti-lynching bill signed. All you wanted is signed. Took 100 years, 200 tries to get it passed. You ain't gonna do nothing anyway. So she talked about that, and that's what we were there when he signed it. And of course, we appreciate that. But the wheels of justice in America grind. They're gonna forever grind slow. They ain't never gonna be deliberately speeding ahead. That's where it's gonna be. And if you don't learn that, you're in for a rude awakening because that's where it's gonna be. So anyway, get back to my grandfather coming. So my grandfather, and well, let's get on back to Mississippi, where we went to the store that evening. At the store, I decided to go in and purchase some things. The store was a counter about this deep, and everything in those days was on the wall for you to. You tell them what you want, they bring it to you. You pay for it that way. So I got what I wanted, and Emmett comes in. We call him Bobo. Bobo comes in. I said, "Oh my goodness!" I remember my heart saying, "Boom!" Why? Because I'm in Mississippi. My formative years was spent in Mississippi. I knew the yes sirs. I knew the dangers of the South. I knew the do's and the don'ts real good because I left when I was about 8. I said, I hope he got it together today. I remember saying that. Got what together? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. You got to say, you got to get it right. If you don't, you could get killed. It's just like that. Normally, remember, they had it with an adult. We don't have an adult there. That's a no-no. I'm his adult. And I can't tell him what to do now because he ain't going for that at all. I could do so much and that was it. Not that I thought you were going to just get rambunctious or anything, but he came in and nothing happened while I was in there. Nothing happened while he was in there. So we left out of the store. I left out, left him in there. My Uncle Simeon, who was 12, my uncle at the time, he was 12 years old. He came in, they sent him in to be with them because you need somebody with you to help you stay straight and narrow. But Simeon's 12, Emmett is 14. Nothing happened at all while they were in there. Their story said that he whistled at her, he touched her hand. These are some things that she said, not before the jury, but said later. And that's a whole lot of stuff that went on. She died. Now we're hoping that we thought she came forth and said,
Set the record straight.
yeah, we thought she did, but she said she ain't said nothing. This guy Tyson wrote the book, and he thought he had it recorded, and they come up missing like them 18 minutes of Nixon's tape. Nothing, couldn't find anything there.
It was a time, at that time, and I'll let you get back to the story.
Hmm.
They said, and you can say if it was true or not, on the woman's deathbed, she confessed that Emmett Till did not touch her or
Yeah,
whistled at her.
yeah. Well, she didn't say he whistled. He whistled because we were right there when he whistled. But anyway, um, she says Tyson wrote this book, this professor, and he wrote some good books in favor of blacks, and he was more or less friend to blacks. But he said that she said confessed, and I being privy to the FBI went to her and got her records, and they let us read her tapes and stuff. She said I didn't do that. I did not confess. I thought, I said, man, she trying to go to heaven now. It's time to go to heaven. She's gonna confess, but she never did change. Never did change at all.
Did that hurt?
Yes, it hurt because I've lived 70 years with this lie. They portrayed him. They had to because normally you didn't hear about these stories. A lot of black people lost their life. We had 500 blacks hung. I was out in Seattle, Washington, traveling with them until exposition. And I asked them, I said, how many of y'all have know any family, any of those 500 members? I think one hand went up. I said, how many of y'all know about the Jewish Holocaust? All the hands went up. Jews going to tell their story. They say you shouldn't tell it. So we're telling this story. Even now they say they shouldn't tell it. But you're going to hear about the Holocaust. We will not tell our stories. And so by and large, you don't know anything about it. You know it's prejudice and racism, but you don't know no detailed stories. You know why? Because nobody ever told you. You didn't sit down listen to in as a whole people telling stories what happened to them. So one thing I guess think we kind of shame of it. We bought children from West Virginia. They said, hey, they want you to come to West Virginia. I said, man, ain't no black folk in West Virginia. So I went on over there, it's about 2%. And so we bought all of those children. They had found the transcript about 50 years later. Man, they did a bang up job. I'm over there crying, just never heard the transcript before, didn't go to the trial. And they came and they got that accent too, man. They put you right back in the setting, man. I mean, they was country and they just all women, most of it, when no guys hardly get involved. So we said, man, we're gonna get a big turnout. Bring us to Mississippi. People gonna come out in droves to see this at the courthouse where it happened at. Nobody. They said they can't come because we got to live here after you're gone. This was right now. We got to get along. We're trying to get along. We're doing better. So they started integration in the South. You know, it's supposed to be integrated, right? But you can't find a white kid in an integrated school. Not likely. They got what kind of schools? Private schools. So we made progress. We broke down that middle wall of petition, so to speak. But we got long. We got a lot of work to do. So brought them there, and I was embarrassed and shamed that nobody came. Maybe 3 or 4 people. That's it. To hear the trial, but it still was a good thing. And I think we probably will do it again, having it. I think it will travel maybe from state to state, Illinois, and different places. They'll reenact the trial that what took place in 1955 in Sumner, Mississippi, which has now become a national mark on the same level as Yellowstone National Park, as well as 4021 South State Street, where they had Emmett Till's funeral. That's a national park now. And the site where they pulled his body out of the grave, that's a national park. So they're contiguous. They all not on that. They all. I say Yellowstone because I let people know it's on that level. And we just were given millions of dollars to restore the church, and we've taken the cover off the church where they had his funeral, and we're doing a lot of things, making a lot of progress going forward, and we just thank God for that.
Let me get a vivid picture. You said you was at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Till was at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Now you said there was no touching, no
Nothing.
no eyeballing,
No.
but you said there was a whistle.
Okay, let me finish that story then. I left him in there. I didn't say anything with him. Nothing happened while I was there. Stories been told as to what happened. So my Uncle Simeon went in with him. Uncle Simeon said nothing happened while he was there. So they comes out of the store. Nothing.
Him and Emmett Till.
Him and him, they come out of the store. We're in the front and nothing happened. But remember, we were interviewed how long? How many years after?
30 years.
30 years. That's a long time.
So how it happened?
So they came out and we was out front and she came out. She came out and she went to her left and to our right. And Emmett, as he was, and that's the kind of person he was, he loved the pranks, he paid people to tell him jokes. He loved to make people laugh, and he just thought he was gonna make us laugh. And he gave that whistle to, man, we could have died. We that knew the mores of the South, we that knew the ways of the South, have you lost your mind? Nobody said, let's go. We made a beeline for the car. My uncle driving, he used to the car, he's 16. I'm 16, about 8 of us. We jump in the car and somebody lost a cigarette in the car. And my uncle said, I'm not moving till we find this cigarette, It's dust dark now. So we take off and going down this gravel road back about 3 miles toward the house. And now Teal is scared because he see our reactions, see our emotions. He know that he's done something he shouldn't have done. He probably don't understand, but he didn't whistle at her. Not only a grown woman, but a white woman at that, He did whistle. And he's anxious. He wants to get going, get going, get going. So my uncle finally takes off and he's going down the gravel road and the dust is flying everywhere. And all of a sudden somebody says, hey man, somebody's after us. They're after us. They're after us. So he sped up and pulled to the side and we jumped out the car, run through the cotton field, running over. I think I ran over Emmett and we just falling over each other. And the cotton bolls are late August. They're just coming out. Some of them not all the way out. It's enough out to pick cotton. and the cotton balls was beating us, and the car went right on by. Now we regroup at the end of the road. There's a girl named Ruth there. She's 18 years old. Now Emmett is scared. Don't tell Papa. Can't tell Papa. Okay, we won't tell Papa. So Ruth said, look, I know those people. So you're going to hear some more about this. This is not over. 16, 15, 14, 12. That's how old we are. So they kept going. Nothing happened. So we forgot about it. That we're not going to tell Papa and left it like that. This on Wednesday. Thursday, didn't hear anything. Back in the cotton fields. Sometime after cotton field, we go swimming and we had a game we played. See who could touch the bottom. Go out in the river there and the way you proved you touched the bottom, you had to do what? Bring some mud up. So if you say you're a good swimmer, you don't bring no mud. Hey man, you ain't nothing. You're a square, you know. I remember I went down and my foot hit the bottom. I had to go back, man. I was out of breath, but I had to go get that mud, man. I brought it up. And we would first before we go swimming, we run the snakes out. They told snakes would bite in the water. But you see the little heads going. We beat the water, run the snakes out, and then we go swimming. So Thursday passed, Friday, we doing these activities, stealing watermelons, busting them open, eating the heart out of them. And in the South, there's nothing like being black on a Saturday night. Nothing like it in the world. They said if a black man could be black, if a white man could be black one Saturday, he would never want to be white again. Man, people came from everywhere, man. All them little towns, and you got a little money in your pocket, and you're going to the Walthall Theater and buying hot dogs and drinking beer and stuff like that, because the South was dry. It was not, you couldn't drink hard liquor legally. So we went to Greenwood, and at 12 o'clock, the police station said, I think you better gonna be late for Sunday school at your boy. That's it. You out of there. I mean, you better get going. So on the way, we stopped at a place called Four Fifths. Still there. Plantation, juke joint out there. They got white lightning, man. We drink that white lightning. You drink that white lightning, see like holes in the ground. All you need was just a little bit because you ain't no age out. So Emmett, Bobo, and I and Maurice, we rode home. We finally headed home to the house. And there was a dog in this house. Sometimes the dogs would lay in the street. It's so hot that you let out the cooling off. So my uncle hits the dog. And then Matilda, he started crying, you know, hey man, you didn't hit the dog. Man, dog, for I was concerned, dog shouldn't have been in the road, you know. So we got home about 12 o'clock. Never forget, got home about 12 o'clock and we were staying at a large ex-plantation owner's home. They always call it a shack. They always demean everything. It's a screening porch all the way across. And off of each end of the screening porch, there's a bedroom. And directly behind that bedroom, there's another bedroom. No hallways. So it's a large house. And then by 1:30, 2:30 in the morning, I hear him talking. I said, you got two boys from Chicago. So you got a fat boy. He did the talking. We want to see him. I said, God, I'm finna die. I remember very vividly, said they finna kill us. Because I've heard stories of people being killed. My uncle told me about people boys leaving his house and later on that day they got them and strung them up. Absolutely nobody gonna help it. Nothing be done about it. I said, God, I'm getting ready to die. And my relationship with you, I was 16. I was very conscientious. We were very religious people, very religious, and we were always aware of our standing with God. I said, my standing with you ain't right. I can't die. I said, God would just let me live. When death is imminent, you don't need no missionary. You don't need no preacher. Your mind automatically goes to God. And I thought about this. I remember seeing that story about this guy in World War II. He's out there, his ship had broke up. And he was out there, he had a piece of board. And there is shark coming right for him. He said, God, if you let that shark go another way, I'm going home and I'm going to treat my little brother right. Because you think about all the wrong things he ever done. He said, I'm going to marry a young woman and I'm going to treat her right. And that's where I was with God. I said, God, if you just let me live. And it's dark as 1,000 midnights. You could not see. When the moon didn't shine outside, you couldn't see your hand. I mean, you couldn't see your hand. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Can't see your hand before your face. So my grandfather had no idea which bedroom he was in. Screen and porch, bedroom off of each side. My grandfather was to the right, and I was to the left with my Uncle Maurice. And my Emmett Till was in the bedroom behind my grandfather, but Papa didn't know where he was at. So he starts in my room. They come out, you can hear them coming, and you buck in your eyes, and they come in with a pistol in one hand and a flashlight in the other. And you're shaking and praying. You're shaking like a leaf on the tree. You don't ever want to experience anything like that.
So you're saying the white men
Yes, they came in.
went room by room.
Yeah, they came when they met my grandfather at the door. They had a pistol on them, and people said, "Y'all should have done something." So my grandfather had no idea what room was in. So Papa led him. He knew they went in the room that he was in, so he started on the other side of the house. The, the door that came to the screen and porch was in the middle, so they started to the left side of the house, and that's where they found me. My uncle didn't even wake up. Didn't wake up. I closed my eyes to die. Shot. They didn't shoot. Couldn't believe it. I'm still alive. They went to the next room. My cousin was there, but he didn't wake up. They went to the third room. They found Emmett in the bed with my Uncle Simeon. And my Uncle Robert, who lives not too far from here, he don't talk about it at all. He didn't wake up either, but he's still living. He was the only one that's still living that was in the house that morning, Sunday morning, when it should be the safest place in the world, in your own house, getting ready to go to Sunday school. When for us it was not so. And I guess what bothered us too is that the South is the most religious place in the world. They are Bible. It's called the Bible Belt, and these people went to church, and when they got to reading the Bible, they thought they had the right to do what they did, the way they treated black folk. But so they got gabbed up Emmett, and I don't know what all was said over there, but I think Emmett didn't know the yes sirs and no sir and all that. So I think he told him put his shoes on. He said, "Well, I think he wanted to put his socks on. I can't tell you for sure." And they were irate at him. They were angry at him because he wasn't moving like they thought he should and giving them the respect that they thought he should give them. The little yes sirs and little Indianos like that. And they finally left with him, and that's the last time we saw him alive. Sunday morning, they got there about 2:30, and they left in the dark. It seemed like daylight would never come. After they left, my grandmother wouldn't stay there. Her and my grandfather left us there. And it seemed like I said, I'm getting up, put my shoes on because they're coming back. And when they come back, we're near the woods. I'm headed for the woods, but I got to get my shoes on. I don't want to be running barefooted. So I got my shoes on, and nobody in the house. My uncle, my cousin didn't wake up. My uncle didn't wake up. Two of my uncles didn't wake up. And they woke Simeon up because he's in bed with her. And he told him to go back to sleep. And they left with him, and that's the last time we saw him. My grandmother ran next door. This white man living in a house next door, which had been our house. They built a new house for us before we left. He would not help, and didn't get anything out of that. And so, of course, they started looking for him. And when they looked for black folk, they knew where to look. First place you look at the rivers. Not that they were afraid of getting caught, but they don't want to leave bodies lying everywhere. They can kill you, but just don't want to leave bodies. Some respect, can discard the body. So they had taken him, and of course, and that's a whole lot of different stories as to where he was killed at and how he was killed. But he was shot in the head and he was beat. And the forensics, he had a lot of broken bones. And
You think he was beaten as well?
Oh man, was he beaten? Man, guy testified. He heard him screaming. Man, we went to that barn not too long ago. Oh, he was beaten and shot in the head, and it was horrible. But he wasn't the first one, and that thing it happened. But we don't talk about those things for some reason. There's still. My cousin moved on, and he said, "Man, people are still scared. You know,
When they f- they found the body,
they found the body. Yeah, sometime later. This was Sunday morning when they took him. They found the body Wednesday. They found the body Wednesday, and um, he shouldn't have never been found. They tied this weight cotton gin around his neck, threw him in the river. He's naked, and as he was going in the Tallahatchie River, as he was floating downstream, it snagged, and his foot was bouncing up and down. Young white boy saw the foot. He reported it. Shouldn't have ever been found. They pulled him out. They pulled him out. So that's Emmett Till. So the powers of be said, that's not Emmett Till. That's a white man y'all dug about the grave, trying to embarrass Mississippi. You know Emmett Till's up in Detroit with his grandfather. That is not Emmett Till. Emmett Till was fair skinned with light eyes. And so he said, that's a white man y'all dug up. And of course, back then we didn't have the DNA. So when they went to court, they won based on the fact that's not Emmett. Of course, about 50 years later, we exhumed his body. We knew it was Emmett, you know, but they had to. His story went everywhere. Italy, I mean, went all over the whole world. Now America got to protect their image, so they tried to paint him as a rapist. He got what he deserved. That's where they went out. That's where they went out after that. When it come down that it was him, but he got what he deserved. And black folks said, "Why'd y'all let it happen?" So we didn't talk about it until that guy did the piece with Ben Wilson there, and it's 30 years later. And then it's become interest. It's the first documentary we were part of 30 years later as to what happened. And that's when we told our story. But first impressions are lasting. And once the story is out there, it's hard to change it. The Eyes on the Prize is out there. People wrote books, told what happened. This guy, trying to think of his name, he wrote the Look magazine piece, and you probably read about it or read it. That piece is out there strong, and that's what we had to have lived with, even until now. This year, 70 years. I was 16 years old, but I had to live with that image, that lie. That sometimes people tell a lie so long, you feel helpless. I just happened to be alive. And last year about this time I was trying to die too because I had congestive heart failure, and ain't much left, but I'm enjoying what's left. I can still tell the story, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But God has blessed me to be able to tell the story as I eyewitness. So I go a lot of places telling the story.
and we appreciate you telling the story here. Let's get to Chicago. How the body
Mm.
traveled from Mississippi to Chicago and the decision of having an open casket.
Mississippi eventually, I told you they had the trial,
Right.
and they concluded or accepted the fact that's in it as a whole, the law part of it. So, and of course they won. They had set up a burial place at the church where I saw the school in the church school, and we got the cemetery there. They set up the burial there. You ever heard of Mayor Daley, the old man Mayor Daley? He got involved. He's just becoming a politician. I think it was Mayor Day, Governor Stratton. They got together and some kind of way reach Mississippi to get them to send the body back. They stopped this funeral. They stopped the burial there in Money, Mississippi. They discontinued it, and they got his body
For what reason?
because of the politicians here, Mayor Daley and Stratton. You know, they honored those politicians from the North, um, and they sent the body back. And my uncle Crosby, which is Emmett Till's grandmother's brother, uh, he come back with the body, and they did not embalm him. They dipped his body in from that fluid they put in. So he was never embalmed.
Formaldehyde?
Yeah, there you go. That's it. And I talked to the guy that was part of that black guy. So they when we exhumed his body, less than 50, almost 50 years later, his body was in better shape than it was when they buried him because the swelling had gone down. He was not embalmed. I didn't see the body, but I did the services to reinstate his body into the earth again.
When you got a chance to see the body for the first time, what were your thoughts?
Wow. I said, this is not, I went to the funeral and I said, this is not Emmett. I said, we're going to see him again. Had no sorrow, no sadness, none of that. I said, this is not Bobo. I'm going to see him again. And they say I was in a state of shock or God's way of preserving, but I never accepted that that was his body. Never accepted that. But yet still, I knew it was. So didn't go to the burial because now I realize that the funeral was like 3 days long. So, and I didn't go to a burial at all. And we were not significant players at all in it. It was Emmett Till, my grandfather, Mose Wright, Emmett Till's mother, A.A. Rayner. They're coming back into the picture now. But I went and I was just numb. It's not Emmett. I'm going to see him again. And we do believe that if you die in Christ, and I talked to my pastor was Bishop Goodwin. He had a son named after him. And he said that the week or the day before he left, they had led Emmett Till to the Lord. And he confessed his sins. And so that gives you hope, that he died, but he didn't die in vain. And that's what she said. I hope you didn't die in vain. That's what his mother said. I hope you didn't die in vain. And we live with that. And a lot has come out since then. A lot has been. It's kind of like truth crushed to the earth will rise again. So it's a lot of things that come about because of his death, and we appreciate the changes that will come about, but you always go back to how he suffered. When I hear that guy talk about how he was screaming, Willie Reed we thought he had disappeared. Willie Reed was there. And every time I saw the documentary when he talked, I just started crying because he did not have to testify at all. Willie Reed came forth 18 years old and testified, put his life on. He had to leave, though. He had to leave. And Mamie Till, both of them got back to Chicago the same day. Both of them had nervous breakdowns in the hospital. That's the fear, and that's the way Mississippi was at the time. We, as black people, have no idea what it was like to live down there because we don't tell the stories. Just don't tell the story.
Now, you telling this story, what would you want IntellectualRadio.com listeners and viewers know about the Emmett Till stories or story that wasn't told?
From this, what would I want people to get? Well, I think we covered. You can't cover every detail, but we were very religious people, and if you can, I want you to make sure you listen to his mother's last reconciliation speech. You got to hear it. Everybody need to hear it. Every person living, because everybody faces atrocities. They face drama in their life. She said, those people who did that to my son is like they don't exist. I can't afford to hate. And I was on the same page. Both of us were saying the same thing, not knowing it. And I go and I said, look, I don't have no hate. It's the hate destroys the hater. He said, you don't hate. Why don't you? I said, I can't afford the luxury of hate. And if you don't forgive, God don't forgive you. And everybody reap what they sow. So in her speech, she did a great job. It's just short. It ain't too long. She did it in California, but make sure you take a listen to it. So we left not hating, because hate destroys the hater. And everybody in America and that lives face some kind of thing that they can hate. I say, sometimes I go to most of the white schools. That's how you think you'd feel. You wake up in the morning, say, I hate my mother, I hate my dad, I just hate everybody. Praise the Lord, I hate everybody. How would you feel? They said, it's not great. So why do you want to hate? Hate destroys the hater. You can't afford the luxury of hate. Hate is no good whatsoever. So we both were saying the same thing, and you listen to her reconciliation speech. So we tell people you can't afford hate. We're here to serve. You're serving right now. This is your job. Abide in your calling. Everybody has a lane they should be in. Everybody that lives is put here to serve somebody. God gave one man one talent, gave one two, gave one five. So as people in the world, we're left here to serve and love one another. I'm a pastor, so and I read the Bible, so and that's something that I know that works. That works. So that's what we want to leave with people.
What would be your legacy in the Emmett Till story?
I don't know that I told the truth, and I don't have hate. You know, I appreciate that. I don't have hate because hate is something terrible to carry. Because when you hate, you're not at rest with yourself. You're suffering. So try to, and I think the biggest thing is try to serve humanity. Abide in the calling wherein you are called. I'm 85 years old, be 86 real soon. And I'm
When
working with Cub Scouts. I ain't got to be working with Cub Scouts at
when you'll
86,
be 86?
March 18th,
March 18th. That's around the corner.
right around the corner. And still working with the Cub Scouts. But I'm here to serve. About all I can do now is give them a little money or something. Because I sure can't do no camp. I spent my time in the military, but
Your passion now is the Emmett Till, not only telling his story, but the
mhm.
museum. Tell us briefly about the museum and why people should come out and support the museum.
Okay, when you say museum, make it clear because there's so many.
Emmett Till Museum,
Which one in
the
particular
one that
that I travel
in
with?
Summit, in Summit,
We don't
Illinois,
we don't have a museum in Summit, but what do we have? We have a center named after him,
a center. Okay,
and we have the high school came to us with the idea. Argo High School. His mother graduated as valedictorian. I mean, whatever happened in her life, she's prepared for it. We got a statue of her on the front yard of Argo High School with a picture of Emmett at a podium. And they came to us with that. We didn't have to fight or pull hairs for it, but that's what happened. So we got that there, and it speaks volume. She was very articulate. I don't know if you heard her talking, but she's very articulate. His father got killed, of course, in the war. But so we try to have programs to help further our our legacy, and we now we're involved in Juneteenth because up until in the later years, black folks, Juneteenth, what is that? And I'm just learning a lot about it. So we're here to serve our people, and we do the best we can, and we every chance and opportunity we get, we try to make sure we tell a story. I told my wife, I said, sometimes people wants to come and maybe they can't afford to get us there, but I said, we don't want the story not told because of money. So sometimes I go with Delta State and Delta State and not Greenwood, Mississippi. I'm having a senior moment. You heard of Delta State? It's in
Yes.
Mississippi. But anyway, they have a great program. They bring in 50 students from all over America in June and July, and they include the story of Emmett Till. So from that, I get invited out to a lot of states and places to go and tell the story. And I never realized how much it meant to people as I witnessed. I never gave it much thought because we don't have no ego. I told leave the ego, let other people do the work because we just survived till the story. If I could have disappeared anywhere in the world, I'd have been there when those people came. But I just couldn't disappear. So I survived to tell the story, and it's not by my mercy, not by my grace, but it's something that I'm left to do, like you doing what you do. Sometimes you may wonder, how did I get here? It wasn't your call, it's God's call. And you go forward, and He open up doors for you as you go. And in life, whatever you're called to do is going to keep coming up. Doors keep opening, keep opening. Then you do that, and then you feel good about yourself. So we try to tell the story and try to keep it out there with love, not with hate. We got a lot of stuff to go forward. You can't go forward with hate because it just distorts your goal. It distorts the mission. Some people like to fight. Hey, fighting ain't nothing, man. Anybody can fight. But you got to try to learn how to get things done without fighting.
I got you. Thank you for being here. It's a real honor to have you here on the Drive at 5. Don't be a stranger to telling the story.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. That's going to do it for the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer, Wanda behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week.
Did we have